Hello my beautiful people. So I just want to do some kind of welcome to my humble abode. I just want to do some notes on the coming Venus retrograde, and it's actually going to start tomorrow on the 5th of October. So depending on where you are, because you'll be getting these early, you know, I like to get them out for you in advance. So let's talk about this. One of the things that I kind of really feel is worth mentioning, I haven't done Venus retrograde specials for everybody, and the reason I didn't do them is because we're saturated with them. Everybody's talking about it. If you haven't seen it, go to my website, www.reydiantreality.com. That's R-E-Y, not R-A-D. And on there, I've put, there's a blog post that's called, you know, that's all about the Venus retrograde. Have a read of it. I think it will give you some insight, some understanding, some background, some context as to what might be happening, how it might shape up, and all that good stuff. Now, that's why I haven't done the Venus retrograde specials, because like I said, not only are we saturated with them, it's one of the things that everybody's talking about. It's on everybody's lips. But there's a few things with astrology that I really want to get across to people, that I really want to hit home to people. You know, some of the really good astrologers out there really hit this home to me, you know, and I'm still learning. I still have a very long way to go on my journey of understanding astrology, you know, and it's like tarot. The journey of understanding and learning is never truly done. You just get to a place where you're competent and proficient. Now, the Venus retrograde will be happening, like I said, on the 5th of October, which here is in the UK where I am is tomorrow. For some of you, it will be, you know, the day after, just because of the time zone thing and whatnot. So, you know, whatever day it happens for you, I'm just trying to get this out in advance. What is important and what you need to remember, all things in terms of astrology, are qualities of moments in time. So when Venus officially goes retrograde on the 5th of October, that specific day, so tomorrow, I personally will be paying attention to what happens on that day. Remember, just like your own star chart, an event chart, a synergy chart, whatever it is, you look at that chart and you are looking at a picture of a moment in time of where the planets are at any given moment in time. And what you're looking at is the quality of life that that event, person, thing, you know, launch, you know, I did a chart for my website launch, which is why I launched on the day that I did and at the time. And if you see it, not a lot of people will be like, oh, I've checked out your chart and it's not very good, and there are some challenging aspects to it, but I specifically chose the challenges that I wanted, and I specifically chose those because I was aware that I was looking at a moment in time, and having the understanding that I'm looking at a moment in time, I can anticipate what is going to unfold over the lifetime of the thing that I created, of the, you know, the website that I launched at the specific time. So when Venus goes retrograde tomorrow, pay attention to what happens tomorrow. Pay attention to the relationships that you've got and what happens in them, the dynamics of them. You know, Venus is going retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. This is all about the power dynamic. It's about what you truly, Scorpio, what you truly desire. What is at the bottom? What are your deepest motivations in the core of who you are? Venus, what do I value? So she's actually amplifying that retrograde to relook at something, reassess, re-examine, redo if need be, in the sign of your deepest and, you know, most held and sometimes even darkest and taboo desires. Venus is going to ask you, what do you truly value here? What do you truly value at that level? And that's what's going to help you understand what your motivations are, where they come from, what is truly driving the decisions that you make based on what you actually value, as opposed to what you think you value on the surface. Remember, we're out of Libra, we're in Scorpio now in terms of Venus. She'll retrograde back into Libra, and I feel, because it is You know, there's definitely going to be some obsessive behavior going on for all of us. I can't even tell you, you know, I'm like looking at it like, ooh, because I know myself. I know what my my moments are and my triggers. Like, one of the things I do is bite my nails. That's one of my obsessive behaviors. You know, and sometimes it's yeah. Anyway, enough of that. But you see my point. If you know what your triggers are and whatnot, you'll be able to anticipate that more. So tomorrow, pay attention to your relationships, what happens in your relationships. Pay attention to the things and the people that you're drawn to. Pay attention to what it is that you feel urged to acquire. Remember, Venus rules money, it rules acquisitions. It's the, excuse me, the lesser benefic, you know, and it's all to do with what we value, what our monetary values are, what our financial state is, you know, mentally, emotionally, actually, physically, materially. It rules all of that stuff. So really be conscious, really pay attention to what's happening. And the reason I've put this prelude in to all these weekly videos is because this it's happening now. And if you can pay attention to especially what happens on the day of when the retrograde starts, it's going to give you an idea of the quality of what that entire retrograde season is going to be about for you, is going to deliver to you. And remember, we always have a choice. We co-create our destinies. Things aren't done to us. They are done with us. And, you know, and in terms of that stuff as well, sometimes the universe takes you to a certain point because you need to make a decision. And if you don't make a decision, unfortunately, like any rule of procrastination, if you don't jump, you'll be pushed. That's how it works. You know, so think about it, pay attention to what's happening, be observant, you know, ultimately be observant with yourself on a really deep internal level. You know, listen to what comes up for you on the inside and pay attention and observe all of the stuff that happens externally, because in that is going to give you sort of, you know, the way that this is going to shape up for you. I'll talk about this more as well as we go forward, and this is the other thing that I really want to hit home to people as well. No transit lasts a day. You know, I mean, some of the aspects last a day, and, you know, in that respect, but their effects tend to be felt longer than they actually last in some respects. The eclipses, for as an example, they happen on a specific day, but they take 3 to 6 months to unpack and to assimilate into our lives. Like, some of the stuff that's happening for us now is off the back of the eclipses that we've had. You know, so be aware, be alert, understand what is taking place, you know, and more importantly as well, especially given the fact that it's a Venus retrograde, be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others. You know, this isn't going to be as hardcore as some. It will definitely be driving those obsessions for sure. I don't think it will be as hardcore as what we've had to deal with over the summer and, you know, the course of this year. So with all that said, waffling over, I really hope you enjoy your week ahead videos, and you'll be able to find all the good stuff that I talk about on there. Take care, and I'll see you very soon. Hi Pisces, welcome to your week ahead Tarotscope with me, Raphael from, I nearly fell over there, did you see that? This is your week ahead Tarotscope with me, Raphael. Thank you so much for being here, thank you so much for joining me. If you are already a continued subby, thank you so much for your continued support. For those of you that haven't, don't forget to like, share and hit that subscribe button. If you would like to book a personal tarot reading with me, you can do so on the email address below, website address below, sorry, www.radiantreality.com, R-E-Y, not R-A-D. And for those of you that would like to donate to the channel, you can do so on the link below. Thank you so much for those of you that do. So, with that said, I would like to bless both of these decks with all forms of love, like peace, prosperity and abundance, and I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So your first, your destiny card, which is the, you know, it's the overarching or overriding theme for the week and how that might shape up, and you get the Hierophant. So this is again about, you know, making things official, but it's also about the rules and regulations. It's also about this week, the words that I'm hearing for you guys, for Pisces this week, it's about what you can push against and what you can't push against. And I kind of want to say to you, and it's really rare to have to say this to a Pisces, there are always things that are outside of whatever you can control. And I kind of feel like this week you're going to try to push where you can't push. You will have to surrender to it. And the thing about the Hierophant card is, yes, it represents the establishment, yes, it represents, you know, hierarchical and structural religion, but the other thing about the Hierophant card that a lot of people don't really talk about is actually it's a deeply spiritual card. And I always say this, sometimes the things that happen in our lives are shaping up. That's where destiny sets in. That's where, you know, whatever you call it, God, Allah, Buddha, Chi, you know, God, Goddess, you know, wisdom, the universe, whatever you want to call it. The whole point of co-creating our destiny is that we get a choice. Free will is absolutely a factor, but there are some things that the universe itself ordains are better for you than you can personally understand or perceive at this time. So if it works the way that, you know, in co-creating, that you get to choose, you have to then ponder that sometimes actually the universe gets to choose as well. Now, the spiritual aspect of the Hierophant is where effectively the higher power steps in and says, no, this is not right for you, or this is what is right for you, and I need you to be there so that the things that you say you want can shape up around that. That is the true point and reason and way that I believe co-creating your destiny actually works. You know, and very often when you get the Hierophant card, if you're pushing against something and it's not budging, ask yourself why. Maybe you're supposed to be there, or maybe you're not supposed to be there. And that's, you know, it tends to be the way that things shape up. The other part of this as well, when you get the Hierophant card, is it's often that life itself in some way, shape or form is initiating you. It's welcoming you in. It's allowing you what you need in order to elevate to the next step or the next evolution of what or who you are supposed to be. That was very heavy, wasn't it? The direction card. Wow. Okay. It is not the easiest one. You get the Tower this week. Pisces, buckle up. It's going to be an interesting week. And I have to say this, for some of you, I kind of feel like this whole thing about you pushing against or rallying against something, for those that speak ill of you, when your back is turned, allow them their moment, because it's going to fall on them. And my advice to you is, when this happens, you're going to have a realization this week at some point that somebody you thought stood for you has actually kind of been behind your back. And when that moment comes, you will have that startling realization. It's always a moment of clarity. When you get the Tower card, it basically steps up to say to you, look, this thing or this person isn't what you thought they were. And you start to understand that, you start to actually see that, you see it in motion in the way that they behave, and this will be something that reaches your ears. So it looks like to me the direction is that basically some part of you might want to lose your shit and say, right, actually, you know what, you're this, you're that, like I can't believe it, I can't believe you're this. But actually, if you just allow the dust to settle, let them know that you know, and move on, you get so much more out of it. And the reason I say that is because I believe that sometimes just knowing what you could say is enough, because if you know it, then the other party knows it, and if they know it, you know what, for those that like to make the biggest noise, your conscience will name you. So I say to you this week, whatever you feel like you need to push against, don't push against it. Allow things to happen and unfold. You know, you'll be going the right way. And for that moment of realization that you have, where you realize that actually someone that you thought was for you or that you could trust isn't, allow that experience to be what it is, because ultimately not only will they be caught out and found out, but on top of that, they will be revealed to themselves. And you know, often when people look at themselves and think, oh, you know what, that makes me a really shit person, that's worse than anything that we could say to them. And that's why I say, sometimes just knowing what you could say compared to actually saying something says more than whatever it is that you would say ever could. With that said, let's pull another card just to see what the clarification is, because it's quite heavy, isn't it? It's been quite heavy from the offset. The Hermit card, interesting, because the Hermit card is about, you know, it's about withdrawal, it's about taking your time, it's about removing yourself from a situation. It feels to me like this week you're going to have the understanding, like a lot of you, now that I put this into even more context, a lot of you have walked away from something. A lot of you have kind of had that moment where you're like, you know what, no, I'm not doing that. And you've literally just, you've up sticks and you've walked away from it. This week, you will come to see and understand that actually you walking away was the best thing you could ever have done. And it's interesting because, you know, I've said to you now, like, oh, you know, sometimes you're put where you're supposed to be, and sometimes you're removed from where you're not supposed to be. That's the whole point of co-creating the destiny, right? And then you have this realization or understanding that somebody isn't who you thought they were, which is again another interesting thing in and of itself. But on top of that, to build on that, and what makes it even more interesting is it looks like by you walking away and saying, right, okay, you know what, I respect myself enough not to be a part of that, by you doing so, it actually puts you in a place of, it's like you not only do you come to see this person for who they truly are, but you realize that whatever situation you've walked away from, or that you walk away from this week, you will hear or finally come to see that actually, do you know what, it looks like I got out just in time. Let me know how this shapes up for you if it's not too personal in the comments. I wish you an abundance of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance itself. Have an awesome week. As best as you can, you know, traverse this. If you lead, you know, if you do the lead in, and also in the right place and the right space do the surrender in, you will arrive exactly where you're supposed to be at exactly the right time. All the best.